You don't need more motivation. You need more clarity. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius, we live like we'll live forever, rushing through the day, checking things off a list, pushing, achieving, hustling. But for what? You're busy, you're tired, you're doing your best, and still, something feels off. You react more than you respond. You're productive but not present. You're moving fast without knowing where you're going. We're not lacking ambition. We're lacking clarity. And clarity doesn't come from another motivational quote. It comes from silence, from reflection, from timeless truths. The Stoics didn't care about hustle. They didn't measure life by money, praise, or even happiness. They measured it by something deeper. Virtue, awareness, inner stillness. And that's why their wisdom still lives. Not in textbooks, but in the hearts of those who've tasted chaos and wanted peace instead. This video isn't here to hype you up. It won't tell you to believe in yourself or manifest your dreams. Instead, I'll share with you 12 Stoic truths, ones that don't shout, but stay. The kind of truths that don't expire after a dopamine hit. The kind that shape the way you see, respond, and live. Some of them will comfort you. Some will challenge you. And one or two may shake something loose inside you that's been stuck for far too long. So don't rush this. Let each line breathe. Because if even one of these truths takes root in you, your life won't be the same. And if that shift begins for you today, then welcome. You're not alone. You're walking the true Stoic way. And this is just the beginning. Now let's start with what to do when the world feels like it's slipping out of your hands. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself, which are externals, not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Epictetus. 1. Control what you can, release what you can't. There comes a moment in life when you realize you've been fighting storms that were never yours to stop. Plans collapse. People withdraw. Life refuses to follow the script. And in response, we tighten our grip. We obsess. We overthink. We try to control everything. But the harder we hold on, the more things slip away. The Stoics never promised certainty. They never preached control over the world. They offered something quieter, more powerful: control over the self. You can't control your childhood. You can't control the economy, your boss, or your neighbor's opinion. But you can control how you respond to pain, where you place your attention, what you say no to, what you choose to believe about today. That may sound small, but it's everything. Because control isn't about domination, it's about discipline. And discipline is freedom. When you focus on what you can control, you reclaim your energy from what you can't. You stop arguing with reality. You stop screaming at the wind. Instead, you return to your center, to that quiet place within you that no crisis can touch. Epictetus taught this not from a library, but as a former slave, someone who lost everything but never lost himself. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, let the world think what it will. Let the market rise or fall. Let others walk away. You stay rooted in your principles, in your breath, in the next right action. This isn't retreat, it's clarity. And clarity is the Stoic's shield. Here's a question to carry with you. Is this mine to carry? Not every weight that lands on your shoulders belongs there. Not every fire needs your water. Sometimes wisdom means walking away from the fight you were never meant to win. Because true strength isn't proven by what you conquer, but by what you refuse to let conquer you. If this message anchors you, subscribe to True Stoic Way. Because life won't always slow down, but you can slow your mind down enough to meet it with presence, not panic. And when you do, you'll see. Control isn't about fixing everything. It's about focusing on the one thing that changes everything. You. Next, we'll talk about what to do when life doesn't just slip out of your hands. It pushes back hard. That's where preparation becomes your power. 2. Prepare for adversity. Don't be surprised by it. Most people think pain is a problem, something to be avoided, something unfair. But the Stoics thought differently. Pain isn't a punishment, it's a signal, a teacher, a sharpening stone for the soul. You will meet people today who are arrogant, dishonest, envious. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus didn't write that as a complaint. He wrote it as a reminder. Because surprise is what breaks most people, not the event itself. We expect things to go well. We assume people will be kind. We believe the path will be smooth because we've done nothing wrong. And when life turns the other way, we fall into shock. Why is this happening to me? But the Stoics would ask, why did you expect it wouldn't? Not in bitterness, but in preparation. Because life is not a contract. It's not, be good, get good. Life is weather, it shifts, it changes, it storms. And the wise don't try to stop the storm. They train for it. You don't wait to learn how to swim during the flood. You train while the sky is clear. So when betrayal comes, you breathe. When failure comes, you learn. When the door closes, you turn the handle on another. The Stoics practiced what they called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortune. Each morning they imagined what could go wrong, a missed opportunity, a loss, an insult, not to become cynical, but to become unshakable. They asked, what will I do if this happens? And more importantly, who do I want to be when it does? This is how you train your emotional reflexes. Just like a warrior trains for battle before stepping onto the field, you prepare your mind to meet the blows of life without being thrown by them. So when the unexpected happens, you don't crumble. You respond, you don't fall into rage or despair. You return to reason. You don't say, why me? You say, I've trained for this. Preparation turns adversity from enemy into instructor, because every difficulty is not an interruption to your life. It is your life. You don't have to enjoy it, but you can use it. Use it to build endurance, to sharpen clarity, to test who you are when the world isn't watching. The Stoics didn't pray for comfort. They practiced for reality, and so can you. If this mindset resonates with you, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where we don't run from hardship, we learn how to stand inside it with strength. Now let's talk about the next illusion we must shed. Waiting for the perfect moment, the trap of hesitation, the lie that says, not yet. 3, stop waiting, do the work. There's a voice in your head, it sounds reasonable, calm, even wise. It says, not yet. Wait until you're more ready. Once everything is clear, then go. But here's the truth, that voice isn't reason, it's resistance, and resistance has many disguises. It pretends to be perfectionism. It hides inside research. It even wears the mask of self-care. But what it's really saying is, stay small, stay safe, stay stuck. The Stoics didn't wait for the perfect moment. They made the moment perfect by showing up. Seneca said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. We tell ourselves stories, I need more clarity. I'm not qualified yet. I'll start when things settle down. But clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Do the thing, then you'll know. Think of your life like a blade. Unused, it rusts. Sharpened by doing, it gleams. Each time you act, you cut through confusion. You slice through hesitation. You reveal what matters. You don't need the whole map. You just need the next step, not someday, not next month, now. Even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if it scares you. Because waiting for perfect is the most dangerous form of procrastination. What's waiting costing you? What opportunity faded while you made another to-do list? What connection died in silence while you waited for the right words? The Stoics would say, don't waste what's yours now by dreaming of later. The present moment isn't a hallway. It's the room. It's the stage. It's the place where life is happening. So step in, speak up, begin, let others hesitate. Let others wait for permission. You don't need perfect, you need courage. And courage is built one step at a time. So ask yourself, what can I do today that my future self will thank me for? Then do it. That's the Stoic path. Not thinking harder, but acting clearer. If this stirred something in you, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where philosophy meets practice and practice becomes power. And now that we've talked about what to do when life resists you, it's time to explore what happens when people do. Because not every battle is outside. Some are emotional, some are relational, some come disguised as love, but feel like control. 4. When people hurt you subtly, you can train for the storm. You can prepare for setbacks, failure, even loss. But no one really prepares you for this. The sting that comes from someone you trust. The quiet ways people pull away, put you down, or shrink your light. Not with cruelty, but with indifference, with silence, with half-hearted support that sounds like care, but feels like control. The Stoics taught us how to face suffering, but they also taught us how to face people. And that begins with this truth. We are often more hurt by our opinion of the insult than by the insult itself. Epictetus, sometimes it's not what they said, it's what they didn't. You celebrate something important, and they go quiet. You share a dream, and they change the subject. You succeed, and they disappear. And part of you starts to wonder, am I doing something wrong? But you're not. You're just growing beyond the version of you they were comfortable with. The Stoic doesn't take this personally, but they do take it seriously, because emotional harm often comes in whispers, not punches. It wears the face of a friend, but leaves the trace of a wound. And if you're not careful, you start adjusting yourself to fit their comfort. You shrink your voice, you downplay your joy, you silence your instincts, all in the name of peace. But peace that costs your integrity isn't peace. It's quiet resignation. The Stoics believed in virtue, not just as a philosophy, but as a compass. So ask yourself, am I staying true to who I am or bending to who they want me to be? Not every friend is a mirror. Some are cages. Not every critic deserves an answer. Some deserve silence. You don't have to argue. You don't have to explain. You just have to keep walking your path, even when others fall away from it, because what they think is not your business. What you become is. And yes, it hurts. But hurt isn't the enemy. It's a signal that something is shifting. Let it shift. Let the ones who don't clap fall quiet. Let the ones who hold you back drift. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to fix the story. You just have to stay true to the one you are writing now. If this resonates, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where we honor the quiet strength it takes to choose clarity over approval. Next, we'll talk about a deeper cut, when staying small feels safer than being fully seen, and how to stop shrinking yourself just to keep others comfortable. 5. When you shrink yourself to make others comfortable. There's a moment, quiet, subtle, when you feel yourself pull back. You're in a conversation. You are about to say something real, but then you hesitate. You sense their discomfort, and so you shrink. You laugh off the thing that matters. You lower your voice. You choose silence, not because you're calm, but because you're afraid to take up space. That's not humility, that's self-erasure. And the Stoics would call it what it is, a denial of nature, a betrayal of the self. The world doesn't need a smaller you, it needs a truer one. But that truth will make some people uncomfortable, because they like the version of you that didn't say no. That stayed agreeable, predictable, contained. And you've learned, maybe even since childhood, that staying small keeps you safe. Safe from judgment, safe from conflict, safe from abandonment. But safe isn't always alive. The Stoics didn't teach arrogance, but they taught dignity. And dignity means standing tall in your truth, without apology. You don't need to yell, you don't need to dominate, but you do need to stop disappearing just to keep the peace. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus, in other words, if your honesty cost you someone's approval, it was never real approval to begin with. And if your truth makes them leave, they were only there for your silence. So practice this. The next time your voice trembles, use it anyway. The next time you feel the urge to shrink, breathe into it and ask, is this really peace, or is this me abandoning myself again? Because shrinking might keep things calm on the outside, but inside you're disappearing. The Stoics remind us strength isn't the absence of fear, It's the refusal to act from it. And no strength is greater than the choice to be fully yourself, even when the room doesn't clap. So let yourself be seen. Let yourself take up space, not for ego, but for truth. And if someone calls that selfish, let them go. Because what the world needs most is not another people pleaser. It's someone who stands firm in who they are, quietly, fully, without shrinking. If this lit something in you, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where we don't chase approval, we choose presence. Now let's talk about a deeper Stoic insight, how the most painful betrayals often come from those who say they love us the most, and how to spot subtle forms of manipulation before they take root. 6. When concern becomes control. Some people don't raise their voice, they don't give ultimatums. They don't need to, because they've learned to control you with concern. They say things like, "I'm just looking out for you. I don't think that person is really good for you. I just want what's best." And maybe at first you believe them, because it sounds caring, it sounds wise, it even feels protective. But over time you realize, you're questioning your other relationships. You're second-guessing your passions. You're slowly isolating yourself, not because they told you to, but because they guided you there. This isn't love, it's erosion. And the Stoics knew this danger well. They warned us to guard our inner freedom, especially from those who seem harmless. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. And you are not the master of yourself when someone else gets to rewrite your instincts. When someone plants doubt in every decision, then offers themselves as the solution. This isn't protection, it's a cage. True love doesn't isolate you, it connects you. True care doesn't confuse you, it strengthens your clarity. Anyone who makes you feel guilty for trusting your own voice isn't loving you. They're managing you. The Stoic doesn't push people away, but they stay awake. They listen to the tone beneath the words. They observe the pattern beneath the affection. They pay attention to what happens after they set a boundary. Because love without freedom isn't love. It's manipulation in disguise. So what do? You don't have to confront them. You don't have to explain yourself. You simply start listening again to the only compass that matters, your own inner clarity. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius. If someone makes you doubt your calm, doubt your choices, doubt your goodness, take a step back, not because they're evil, but because they're no longer safe to your peace. And peace is your responsibility. No one else will protect it for you. If this helped you see something clearer, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where clarity is strength and strength is quiet. Next, we'll explore the final layer, when the lies aren't coming from others, but from yourself, and how to see through the most convincing illusion of all. 7. When the lies come from within. There's one kind of betrayal more dangerous than anything others can do to you. It's not public, it's not loud, it lives inside your own mind. It's the whisper that says, you're not enough. You'll never change. Why travel? It's not true, but it sounds familiar because you've heard it for years, maybe from someone else, maybe from yourself, and now you mistake it for logic. You call it being realistic. You say you're just protecting yourself, but what you're really doing is agreeing with fear. The Stoics warned against this. They didn't just battle external chaos, they confronted internal distortion. A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is. Seneca. Let that land, because it means you are not the enemy, but you might be the one holding yourself hostage. How? By repeating old stories, by clinging to shame, by thinking you have to be perfect before you begin. But perfection is the enemy of progress, and shame is the shadow that grows when you hide from your own humanity. So what's the Stoic answer? It's not denial, it's not false positivity, it's truth. And truth says, you've made mistakes, you've been hurt, you've fallen short, but so has every wise person who ever lived. The difference is they didn't stay there, they learned, they stood back up. They practiced forgiveness, not just toward others, but toward themselves. Because self-respect isn't built by avoiding failure. It's built by responding to it with virtue. The Stoic path is not about becoming flawless. It's about becoming fearless in the face of your own flaws. So the next time your mind says, "You're not ready," answer it. Say, "Maybe not, but I'm willing." The next time your mind says, "You always mess this up," answer it. Say, "And not this time." Not because you need to prove something, but because you deserve to live outside the prison of your past. You deserve clarity. You deserve movement. You deserve the quiet power of someone who trusts their next step, even if they don't see the whole path. If you needed this reminder, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where we don't run from the truth, we learn how to walk with it. Because the hardest lie to break is the one you've believed the longest. And the greatest freedom is not being someone new, but finally being someone true. By now, you've seen it. Life will not spare you. People will not always understand you, and your own mind can turn against you. But none of that can destroy you unless you forget who you are. Stoicism isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. It's not about ignoring pain. It's about facing it with wisdom. And it's not about controlling the world. It's about choosing who you are when the world refuses to cooperate. If you've walked this far, it means you're ready for something deeper. Not just how to stand strong when life pushes you, but how to live with peace when it doesn't. Because sometimes life is quiet, but your thoughts are loud, your emotions spin, your clarity slips. In the next chapter, we step into the inner world, where calm is not given, it is earned, where emotion is not an enemy, but a signal, where discipline doesn't feel like punishment, but protection. Subscribe now to True Stoic Way, because what's coming next will help you master what no one else can see. Yourself, the war within, mastering the inner world. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius, your external life can be still, and yet inside a storm brews. You're not being chased, but you're running. You're not in danger, but you're tense. You're surrounded by silence, but your thoughts are screaming. That's the paradox of modern life. We have more comfort than ever, but less peace, because peace was never about what surrounds you. It was always about what moves through you. And that's where this chapter begins. Not with a to-do list, but with awareness. The Stoics weren't monks. They were soldiers, fathers, rulers, slaves, people with full, complicated lives. But they knew the hardest battle isn't against fate, it's against reactivity. How you respond to fear, to ego, to praise, to pain. That response shapes everything. So they trained, not in temples, but in the mind. They observed every reaction. They questioned every belief. They slowed everything down until clarity could rise through the noise. That's what you're about to do. In this chapter, we'll walk into the inner world and light a torch. We'll learn to notice before we react, to pause before we spiral, to replace self-sabotage with self-command. And the first place we start, not with suppression, but with sensation. Because the body feels what the mind refuses to name. The tight chest, the clenched jaw, the racing pulse. These are not enemies, they're signals. And if you learn to read them before your mind makes a story out of them, you reclaim your power before the chaos builds. So take a breath, notice it. Feel your body where it is. You are not just thoughts. You are not just memories. You are the witness to them all. And that's where your true strength begins. Subscribe to True Stoic Way if this path speaks to you, because this is not about calming your life down. It's about rising steady no matter how loud life gets. 8. Emotion is not the enemy. Many people think Stoicism means suppressing your emotions. They imagine a Stoic as cold, distant, untouched. But that's not strength, that's shutdown. And the Stoics never taught detachment from feeling. They taught discipline within feeling, to feel fully without being ruled, to face pain without collapsing, to witness anger without becoming it. Because emotion is not weakness, it's energy, and energy, when understood, becomes power. Imagine this. You feel anger rising. It's sharp, hot, fast. Your heart races, your jaw tightens. The untrained mind reacts, snaps, says something it can't take back. But the trained mind, the Stoic mind, pauses. It doesn't deny the anger, it names it, observes it, breathes with it. That moment of pause, that's the entire practice. Because in that pause, you return to clarity, you break the chain of reactivity. You remind yourself, I am not this emotion. I am the one noticing it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Your emotions are part of you, but they are not you. They are signals, not commands. A Stoic doesn't run from sadness. They sit with it. They don't fear fear. They understand it. They don't repress raw. They savor it without attachment. That's the discipline, not numbness, but presence. So the next time a wave hits, pause, not to avoid it, but to ride it with awareness. Let your breath be your anchor. Let your body speak before your mind takes over. Let silence create space for choice. Because the moment you name the emotion is the moment you are no longer drowning in it. You're learning from it. If this shifted something in how you view emotion, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where self-command begins not with control, but with compassion. Next, we'll go deeper. How the stories you tell yourself about what you're feeling shape the entire way you live. 9. The stories you tell yourself. The facts of your life are real, but the meaning you assign to them? That's a story. Your friend doesn't reply to your message. Fact, you tell yourself, they're ignoring me. They're upset. They don't care. That's the story. And that story, more than the silence, creates your suffering. The Stoics knew, we are not only interpreters of life, we are often unreliable narrators. It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about them. Epictetus, the same rainstorm can be a burden to one person, a blessing to another. What changes? Not the rain, the meaning. That's why Stoicism isn't just about reaction, it's about reinterpretation. Instead of saying, this setback is a failure, you can say, this is a challenge to grow. Instead of, they disrespected me, try, they're showing me who they are. This isn't naivety, it's mental hygiene. It's the daily discipline of refusing to drown in the narrative your fear is writing for you. Your mind is a storyteller, but you are the editor. And that means you can pause, disagree, and rewrite, not to avoid reality, but to reclaim your relationship with it. Because every time you believe a story that weakens you, you give away your peace. And every time you rewrite a story to serve growth, presence, or truth, you become a little more free. So the next time your mind says, this means I'm not good enough, ask, is that true or just familiar? The mind repeats what it's practiced, but you can practice something new. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every feeling needs a script. Some things just are. And some stories need to end so your real life can begin. If you're ready to rewrite your inner narrative, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where clarity doesn't come from knowing more, but from believing less of what keeps you stuck. Next, we'll go one layer deeper. How to anchor yourself in the present when your mind tries to run everywhere else. 10. Anchoring in the present. The future screams, the past echoes, the mind runs. And all the while, the present waits. Not with force, but with quiet. You miss it often because you're chasing a conversation that hasn't happened yet, or reliving one you wish had gone differently. The Stoics knew this well. They lived in empires and chaos, just like we do now. And yet they taught, confine yourself to the present. Marcus Aurelius. Why? Because the present is the only place where power lives. You can't act in the past. You can't breathe into the future. You can only do anything from choosing a word to taking a breath, to redirecting your entire life right now. But the mind won't make that easy. It wanders, worries, replays. So how do you return? Through the body, your breath, your hands, your feet on the floor. These are not distractions, they are anchors. They bring you back, not to escape, but to to see what's actually in front of you, to stop reacting to ghosts, to start showing up to this moment. Try it now. Take a slow breath in, feel it. Now slowly let it go. That's presence. That's practice. And the more you return to it, the more your nervous system softens, the more your reactions slow, the more your clarity sharpens. You stop being the echo of your past or the projection of your fear and become the presence of your own choice. The Stoics didn't talk about mindfulness the way we do today, but they lived it. They journaled, they walked, they reflected before speaking. They paused, and in the pause, they met themselves again. That's your invitation now, not to flee the noise, but to stand still within it, to say, I'm here fully, because power doesn't live in what's next. It lives in what you choose now. If you needed this reminder, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where returning to the present isn't a retreat from life, but the only way to live it fully. Next, we'll explore the final piece, how to act with virtue, even when no one is watching, even when it's hard, even when you're not sure it matters. 11. Doing the right thing, even when it's hard. It's easy to be good when others are watching, when applause is guaranteed, when praise follows effort. But what about when no one sees, when no one thanks you, when doing the right thing feels like a loss? That's when virtue matters most. Because for the Stoics, virtue isn't performance, it's alignment. Doing the right thing, not for reward, but because it's right. Seneca wrote, "The reward of a good deed is to have done it." Not attention, not outcome, not success, just the quiet knowledge that your actions match your values. That's what builds peace. Not the results, but the integrity behind them. Modern life celebrates visibility, viral moments, external validation. But the Stoic asks, who are you when the lights are off? Who are you when there's nothing to gain? That's your true character. Not the version you post, not the version you explain, but the one that shows up when no one else does. This isn't easy. Sometimes choosing what's right means losing comfort, approval, even connection. But every time you act from principle instead of pressure, you build something unshakable inside. That's the kind of wealth no one can take from you. And that's the life the Stoics practiced. One where values lead and outcomes follow or don't. Either way, you're free. So ask yourself today, what's the next right thing I can do, regardless of who notices? Then do it. If this helped ground you, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where we walk the path of integrity, especially when it's quiet. Next, we'll close this journey with the most powerful Stoic truth of all, memento mori, and why remembering death is what brings us fully into life. 12. Memento mori. Remember you must die. We all know it, but we rarely feel it. We're going to die, not in a poetic sense, in a real, eventual, irreversible way. And that thought alone can feel terrifying. So we avoid it. We distract ourselves. We act as if there will always be more time. But the Stoics, they did the opposite. They meditated on death daily. They carried reminders of mortality. They whispered to themselves, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius. This wasn't morbid, it was clarifying. Because death puts everything else in place. It silences the trivial. It humbles the ego. It reveals what truly matters. When you remember you are going to die, that argument seems less important. That hesitation becomes a waste. That desire to love, express, or act becomes urgent, honest, alive. Memento mori doesn't ask you to fear death. It asks you to use it as a compass, as a lens, as a way to sort what is essential from what is noise. You stop waiting for permission. You stop numbing yourself with endless planning. You live fully now. Ask yourself, if this were the last year, month, date, how would I show up? What would I release? What would I finally say yes to? You don't need a countdown to begin. You just need the courage to remember that your time is limited and therefore infinitely valuable. Let death not be your fear, but your filter. Let it strip away the false. Let it pull you into presence. Let it teach you the most Stoic truth of all. Life is short, but meaning is found in how you live it. If this truth grounded you, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where philosophy isn't theory, it's a practice for the life you still have time to live. And now the path is yours. You've seen the chaos. You've felt the inner war. You've met yourself in the silence. So live well, live aware, live fully. Memento mori. But more importantly, memento vivere, remember to live. Stoic challenge. What will you keep? You won't remember every lesson, you won't recall every line, but maybe just one truth stays, one sentence, one question. And maybe it lands not when things are calm, but when the world is shaking. When you're tempted to react, when you want to give up, that's when the practice begins. Because Stoicism isn't about knowing more, it's about becoming more. You've walked through control, clarity, emotion, adversity, immortality, but none of that matters until it lives in your next breath. The real Stoic is not the one who reads, it's the one who remembers at the moment it matters. So here's the challenge. When the next hard moment comes, will you pause? Will you choose? Will you return to yourself? Not perfectly, but intentionally, because that's all it takes to begin changing everything. Final words. Don't wait to live like a Stoic. Don't wait for a better week. Don't wait for more clarity. Don't wait until you've read all the books. Start now. The moment you stop reacting is the moment life begins to shift. You are not here to float through your days. You are here to live them with depth, with integrity, with presence. So start small, start quiet, but start. Drop a comment below. What was the Stoic truth that hit you the hardest? Let it be your anchor. Let it be your next step. And if this journey has stayed with you, subscribe to True Stoic Way, where we practice not just philosophy, but the art of becoming unshakable. This is not the end, it's the moment you begin.